Welcome back to another Backroads West adventure. This time we're going to take you to a very remote ghost town in Nevada called Tybo, and on the way, pass right through an active facility that was going to be the headquarters for Nevada's next nuclear test site. Gold was discovered in the Hot Creek Mountains around 1870. Tybo, which in Shoshone, the local Native American language in this area, means White Man's District. Tybo became a true town in 1874 and soon accumulated a population of about 1,000 people. Similar to most other mining towns in the Old West, the mines and mills would go boom and bust several times until 1937. After then, mining still went on, but ore was now sent to Tonopah, 50 miles away, from milling until 1945. With each boom, a significant amount of precious metals were recovered. From 1929 to 1937 alone, Tybo's final revival recovered a whopping $6.8 million in lead. That's a lot of lead. From beginning to end, Tybo produced a remarkable total of $9.8 million in lead, gold, and some silver. Today, Tybo is a nice, little, very well-preserved ghost town, mainly because of its remoteness and the few people who still live at the town site acting as caretakers, so you probably won't encounter any ghosts floating around here. As mentioned, the other interest of this tour is what's labeled on some maps as the Central Nevada Test Site Base Camp. Here's the quick story on that. In the 1960s, nuclear testing was at its height. As you'll see in a moment, the testing was performed not far out of Las Vegas, which was growing in both population and as a popular tourist destination. When nuclear detonations occurred at the test site, they created earthquakes ranging in 5 to 6 on the Richter scale. The residents and visitors in Las Vegas, 75 air miles to the southwest, were commonly woken from their sleep as nuclear tests were conducted in the early morning hours, usually around 4:30. Many influential people of Las Vegas, mainly Howard Hughes, urged the Department of Defense to move their testing area further away from Las Vegas. The Atomic Energy Commission agreed and began looking for a new spot further north of the current Nevada test site. The facility that we'll pass through was set up as an operations center or base camp. The testing was to be done in this 40-mile-long valley of basin and range topology called Hot Creek Valley. The detonation sites were chosen to be at the valley's extreme northern end, some 25 miles from the base camp that controlled and monitored the testing. The first test, known as Project Faultless, took place in 1968. Quickly it was learned that Hot Creek Valley would not be a good place for a test site. When the detonation occurred at 3,200 feet underground, the ground collapsed, forming a giant depressed area over several miles in diameter. This ground behavior didn't happen at the current test site of Yucca Flat. In essence, a few large earthquake scarps, or faults, were created during the explosion. So in essence, Project Faultless wasn't very faultless. It actually created them. Since the base camp facility was already built, it remained and was used for other functions related to the Nevada test site, Area 51, and the Tonopah test range. See our video on the ET Highway to learn more about those places. When you drive on the road to Tybo, you'll drive right through the base camp, which is now operated by the Air Force and being used to test radio and other equipment. From Las Vegas, Tybo is located about 165 air miles, or 224 road miles, going up I-15, US 93, and then ET Highway. We'll now take you on a flyover, thanks to Google Maps, to show you where Tybo is in relation to Las Vegas and the Nevada test site, including Area 51. Here's Las Vegas, Lake Mead, the Grand Canyon, and St. George, Utah. Now we'll zoom down into the expanses of the Nevada test site. Here, you see the northern outskirts of Las Vegas. From here, we'll zoom into Frenchman and Yucca Flats, where many nuclear bombs were tested. You can see all the craters that were created by all the nuclear detonations. Pretty amazing, huh? This was one of the last big semi-above-ground tests called Sedan Crater. It was from a 104 kiloton bomb detonated in 1962. Compare that to the 15 kiloton bomb dropped on Hiroshima. It was part of Project Plowshare, a program that was testing nuclear explosives to be used for peacetime construction projects like digging big holes or trenches for building road cuts or canals. From Sedan Crater, Area 51 is located just 14 miles to the east on the other side of a small mountain range. You can imagine that the hundreds of people working here were a little worried about nuclear fallout. Now, let's fly north about 75 miles over a few basin and ranges to the test camp and the turnoff from US Highway 6 to the town of Tybo. You can see the road leading to Tybo heading into the Hot Creek Mountains. Tybo is located here in this canyon. From here, we'll switch to Guide GPS, then switch to the USGS map layer that shows more historic detail. Before entering the canyon where Tybo actually is, the map shows a cemetery here. We parked there to look for it, but this is what we saw. This may have been a burial plot, but there were no headstones anywhere. The road then enters the canyon. When we visited in June of 2020, the road was in great shape the whole way. Here's where the town of Tybo is located, along with its mines and mill. At this point, we're about 8.5 miles from the pavement of Highway 6. There are old buildings scattered all around the site. The crown jewel of all the buildings is this brick building that was the general store and a Wells Fargo office. The other jewels located close by are two head frames, one close to the road just past the town, and the other up on a hill above the town. Continuing up the road another 1.5 miles, you'll find a couple of charcoal kilns used in 1877. You'll need to walk about 1/4 mile to reach them. Alright, let's get on with the tour. We'll start at the base camp we discussed earlier, which is located on Highway 6, about 9.5 miles northeast of its junction with ET Highway. Again, see our video on the ET Highway to get driving directions from either Las Vegas or Tonopah. But before turning off Highway 6 into the base camp, don't miss these informational signs on the opposite side of the road. Remember the charcoal kilns I just mentioned? They explain how they work. In this panoramic view taken across the street from the base camp, you can see Highway 6's junction with ET Highway way in the distance. You'll now see how big the base camp is with all its buildings. People obviously live here full-time. The mountains in the background are the Hot Creek Range. You can see the road heading up to Tybo behind the base camp. We're now looking north up Hot Creek Valley. Way up here, 25 miles away, is where the single underground nuclear test took place. We'll now begin driving through the base camp. You'll see no trespassing signs along the way, but it's okay to drive on the road itself. Just don't stray from it. Along the way, you can see there's nothing really special about the buildings. After we get past the base camp, it's on to Tybo. Enjoy the rest of the tour and, as always, happy exploring!